Citadelle Des Morts is the most recent map in the Zombies catalog, and since it's been a couple of weeks, I thought it was finally a good time to sit down and review this brand new map. So without any further ado, let's just get right into it. Starting off with the atmosphere of the map, and overall this setting is freaking fantastic. Of course, not only with the Drak callback, that being a castle, but it also stands on its own 2 feet. With its really nice and dark sewer area, with all the prisoners, with all the cells and like the different dingy areas, it's very nice and it makes perfect sense. To actually going in the castle and you see the room with all 4 knight statues, which is where you get the wonder weapons, to the courtyard being nice and open, and you can actually go on the castle walls and it's really nice. You can see most of the map and spawn from it. And so are the rest of the areas just outside of and in spawn, with this massive statue just kind of ominously staring at you as you spawn into the map. And probably one of the best parts about the atmosphere of this map is how much, at least in my own heart of hearts, yes, this is my own bias coming through, but I think this just shows that for zombies, magic, it just fits better than sci-fi, I would say. While science fiction can definitely play into it, I would rather see magic be the main role with some sci-fi sprinkled on top. I think magic just leads to a lot more variability and a lot more options for the developers to just have fun and enjoy themselves while they make a map, because you can definitely tell the developers had something going in their brains while they were making this map. Even the fast travel systems and how they actually look 100% fit with that magic theme. It's great, and so do the wonder weapons. But we'll get onto that a little bit later. And kind of moving on to my honestly only issue with the atmosphere of the map is just the lack of color. I don't remember who said it, but I've also seen this in my comment section quite a bit, and I definitely agree that the colors in at least Black Ops 6 in general, and in fact a lot of the modern Call of Duty zombies, they're kind of gray-scaled. Now what I mean by that is this map would really do well with a lot more contrast in its colors, more neon-esque colors as well. Stuff that Black Ops 4 did with its colors, I think would actually go a long way with this map. Not to mention it would fix one of the problems that I at least have with Black Ops 6, which is that darks could be darker and lights could be a whole lot brighter. There seems to be a flat tone to a lot of modern Call of Duty zombie maps. And even then, that's a very nitpicky thing. Next, let's move on to the layout of the map. And it's overall really solid. It takes the same, if not more content than something like Terminus and just removes all the filler bullshit that was like in the layout of the map. No water and a lot of downtime trying to move in between areas. You can get to where you want to go in like probably 20 seconds at any part of the map. And that comes with the plethora of fast travel systems. We have a really cool kind of like sewer getaway from the very back of the map all the way to spawn. We have a portal that goes from spawn into the middle of castle, and we have a cannon that goes from the top of the castle walls back to spawn as well. I've seen a few complaints online about the layout of the map, saying that it's too small and crowded, and I really don't think that's fair. This map is still fairly open where it needs to be open, such as the courtyard and the areas just outside of spawn, and heck, even the spawn itself is extremely open. It's like a labyrinth with how freaking big the spawn is. And where the map needs to be more narrow and claustrophobic, the sewer areas and some of the rooms in the castle, they are. It's how the map should be. If I were to give one complaint about the layout of the map, I guess it would be the cannon fast travel system. I don't know, it just kind of seems pointless with how long it takes for you to actually get into the cannon and how long the sequence is to actually launch you. I feel like if it had just acted more like a Wonder Sphere from Drak, that would have been 10 times better. But again, still extremely nitpicky. And I think with atmosphere and layout out of the way, let's go on to the Easter egg. I cannot speak highly enough on this Easter egg, mainly because this is the best Easter egg we've gotten since Black Ops 4. Nothing that I have played from Cold War to anything I've seen in the other modern Call of Duty zombie games that I've played, including anything from Black Ops 6, comes close to this Easter egg. Granted, that also kind of comes with my bias of 4 different wonder weapons being a part of the questline, so take that with a grain of salt, but I think it really is fun. We get interesting lore bits that actually make you go invincible. The zombies physically walk away from you, say when you talk to Kraft, or you talk to the owl, like the owl's dead body. The zombies will physically basically run away from you, so you can actually enjoy the sequences of these characters talking. It's a great freaking idea, and that's how it should have been permanently. That's an amazing idea. None of the steps are overcomplicated or just flat out bullshit like from Revelations or Gorod Krovi, while at the same time not being so incredibly easy that it just becomes a complete snooze fest. And some of these steps actually do give a bit of a challenge, like the orb step where you have to use incantations and your swords to actually fill it up as like a soul box. That is a very good step, and actually something my team died on the first go around. It was pretty fun. And speaking of, the incantations are now a map specific tactical ability, and oh my god, it's so fun. It's so good. See, this is how you reuse aspects. No one cares that these are basically glorified AATs or they are just different melee macchiato animations. No one cares because they're so freaking cool and good to use, and they all have their unique characteristics and reasons to use them. And going over the last bit of the Easter egg, the boss fight itself is probably the best boss fight in Black Ops 6, maybe. I don't know, I'm still a little bit undecided. I'm gonna have to go back and maybe play the boss fights a few more times to figure that out, but it's at the bare minimum comparable to Patient 13, and it is very fun. The arena is tightly packed, the boss is super cool to look at, it's the statue at the very beginning of Spawn, and using your swords, though not the best way of beating the boss, unfortunately. I don't even think after the buffs that have come through for the wonder weapons, I still don't think they're the best like a thing to use in the boss, which kind of sucks because I kind of like to imagine it to be like an Elden Ring boss fight against like the fire giant or something, but it's still very, very fun. The cutscene is something I'll just leave at the end because honestly I don't know how to feel about it, because at the one point potentially we have an Origins remastered coming back, but at the same time that's complete speculation and we don't actually have any idea. And also the revelation of Strauss being Richtofen stepfather, honestly, it doesn't really mean much to me if I'm being honest. I'm not the biggest lore guy, so I'll let the people who like lore go at it in the comments and tell me if this is something I should actually care about. And moving on to side Easter eggs, they're all overall very cool, or they're actually really good to use. Randomly during the day one, I got this chess piece kind of following me around. It was a knight. Dude, it was so freaking cool. I think it was something like you picked up a bunch of chess pieces, but it was still really cool to use. And actually very powerful, something I might actually do again if I'm going for the Easter egg. And of course you have some just really cool, neat stuff like the Rat King. Like that's always nice to use, especially because it works on the Mangler suit. That's really cool. And the new song by Kevin Sherwood is a banger yet again. Its name is Slave, and this song is kick-ass. This reminds me of something like the original World at War music tracks. Maybe not as intense as something from like Black Ops 1, you know, like 115, but somewhere closer in tone to say like Beauty of Annihilation. And even then, there are some reminiscent parts of some of those like more hardcore rock elements from Black Ops 1. Really, really good song and 100% worth doing it. We also got this day one randomly and we were freaking out. The song is so good. Now with most of the Easter egg stuff gotten out of the way, let's move on to the wonder weapons. This is kind of controversial because the good of these wonder weapons is that this is the coolest 4-set wonder weapon we have ever got. The staffs, the bows, the Rega Mark IIs, pretty much everything else doesn't even come close to how cool these things are. Not only do they have real world history behind them, but they look and feel the part. However, at the same time, these are, in my opinion, the worst 4-set wonder weapon we have ever gotten. The ability takes way too long to charge, in my opinion, and the fact it can only kill one zombie when something like, I don't know, the Apothecant Sword from Shadows of Evil could kill an entire horde with just a slam. And I've heard a bunch of people say something about risk reward. It's like, oh, you need it. See, zombie players don't like it because it needs skill. Let's actually examine that argument on its face. The risk is that you're using a melee weapon in Black Ops 6, which is notoriously bad to use if you're not in Aether Cloak, which by the way, doesn't get a bonus. And these are some of the fastest zombies we've ever had in the series, so it's very easy for you to get swarmed while using these wonder weapons. And what's your reward? Charging up your special ability and getting one zombie kill. Why? Why would I ever do that when the reward does not at least become comparable to the risk? That's dumb. That's the reason why the spawn room challenge in Citadelle Des Morts is still insanely high, and why I could even get to the high hundreds on the map without even trying. Again, no tier 2 armor, no pack-a-punch, no gobble gums in this run, and yet I'm still able to get to super high rounds because the swords are not needed. And I think that kind of greatly transitions into the high rounds. These high rounds suck. Listen, I understand that a lot of people didn't like high rounds to begin with, and that's fair. It's not your thing. But even for people who like high rounds like myself, or like Black Ops 6 high rounds, this isn't fun. Seizure warning for anyone who hasn't seen this yet. This is the Sigma strategy. Skip ahead in the video like 20 seconds or so. You basically just sit and look at the floor while in the ring of fire trap. That's what I call it. It's called the ring of power, but it's a ring of fire, let's be honest. And you literally sit there spamming the ground. I physically have to look away from my screen or look at my health and ammo counter so I'm not actually looking at the screen because it gives me such bad headaches. Listen, you could hate high rounds all you want, but if a high round or playing a game is causing you physical pain or a headache, then that's the worst possible rating you could give something, right? And even then, what's it beyond that? Well, just spamming mangler injectors. The exact same thing you were going to do anyway because they're so good. But kind of transitioning into a little bit of a better thing, Vulture Aid is back. Vulture Aid is so overpowered, it's not even funny. Everyone knows by now how good Picky Eater is. It basically makes Casimirs into fairly common drops. I will say the design of it is definitely a downgrade, at least for me. I definitely don't like the color scheme either, but it's great to have the perk back, and it's still a very awesome perk. Like, easily A or S tier. And the last thing I touch on before we head to the conclusion section and my final rating is going to be the special and elite enemies. The new special enemy being the Doppelgast. Is it one of them? Is it one of them? Where are you?
Oh my god!
Where are you?
I'm in the basement. I opened a box and a Doppelgast came out at me, dude. I was terrified.
Now, the Doppelgast is, I guess, better than the Mangler, but still fairly annoying, but in a better way. The Doppelgast has a lot less health, but to make up for this, it is faster and also tries to avoid your shots, and actually successfully doing so in many cases, especially if you're not using an actual bullet hit scan weapon. It can be a little tricky to actually hit him. They have a ranged attack which slows you down insanely fast. It does a decent bit of damage on the higher rounds, and they also have a kind of like self-destruct thing when you actually unalive them. They just kind of blow up, and they also, again, give you that weird color effect, slow you down, and also deal a pretty good amount of damage, so watch out for them. I'm kind of indifferent to them, but I'm just really annoyed with enemy spam, even still. It's just annoying. Keep in mind, I'm a high round player. I know that it's kind of fixed in the lower rounds, but still, I just don't like it. But something I don't like about the special enemies is the reused elite enemy. The amalgamations are on the map. Why? I mean this so sincerely. Why are they here? They don't make sense to be here. And you know what? I will give you a realistic solution they could have done. You know the knight statues, you know, that carry your swords? They could have just made that model a bit bigger, give them the same running animation as the amalgamation, right? And just give them a cool little shiny effect. And have it to where they're running at you trying to constantly melee you. They can be just as tanky, but it would make a lot more sense for the map. And hey, then they wouldn't heal themselves constantly, so, you know, that's pretty good. I said this in my Black Ops 6 review, but I really wish they would stop reusing enemy types. And also, yes, I'm not the biggest fan of the bug rounds being reused again for parasites and vermin. I wish there was something different, like even dogs. I would have taken that, even though that kind of breaks my rule of not wanting the same enemies over and over again. But at the same time, I'd be fine with it because we haven't had regular hellhounds since Black Ops 4. So I could deal with it. Plus, I don't think a lot of people actually like the amalgamation. I don't know, I think it's a fairly boring elite enemy. And with all that being said, I guess the conclusion I've come to is that this is the best modern zombies map or experience, I guess you want to say, that we have ever gotten. At least from what I've played, rounding up from Cold War to now, I can't think of anything that is better. I guess the one map that maybe comes close to it for me is Mauer Toten, but even then, I don't think it actually reaches the same highs as Citadelle Des Morts. Now, is it perfect? No, of course not. No map is perfect. Not even my favorite maps of all time like DE or Shadows of Evil are perfect, so everything's got its flaws. So I think with all that being said, overall for Citadelle Des Morts, I'm feeling a light to decent 8 on this. And I think for a tier list, I think it would belong somewhere in that mid to low A tier. And if I'm feeling really negative for any particular reason, I guess very high B tier. And if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure y'all like and subscribe. Sorry for not uploading. I've just kind of had a tough time motivating myself to play Black Ops 6, like, at all. I'm really not enjoying the game that much, but I will be having more content coming out eventually for this game. Hopefully one before the new year and maybe Christmas, but I do not know. Anyway, y'all, take care. See you later.